Welcome YouTube to my first tech video, so don't be too harsh on my presentation. This is a first. This presentation will be about the Beta RR 125 and 200, which have the same engines, and especially about the clutch. This clutch is different from other clutches you're used to. Normally we're used to having a slave cylinder on the opposite side of the engine, pushing a rod through the engine and pushing the pressure plate outwards and thus disengaging the clutch. However, this bike has the slave cylinder on the clutch cover. That way it pushes in the pressure plate and thus disengaging the clutch. There's nothing wrong with this design per se, but as it's manufactured, it will not always engage after fully disengaging. There are a few fixes for that. One, a temporary one that can be done roadside, and one more permanent one. I'll explain both in this video. For the temporary fix, we want to take the center pressure plate out, and we want to place 5 M6 washers under the bolts. Don't tighten the washers just yet. We want to make sure the washers are placed outwards as much as possible so they don't intervene with the pressure plate. After putting in all the rings, put the pressure plate back, which will click in a bit tougher. Then we tighten all the screws to 10 Newton meters or whatever feels right, because well, you're roadside, you don't have a torque wrench with you. For the permanent fix, it's needed to take the whole clutch assembly out. So there we go. Pressure plate. Then we can take out the center bolt. This will be quite tight. It's not the first time today, so you will find the nut, a retainer washer, a big washer, and then we can just pull the whole assembly out. Mind the bearing and the bushing, those can stay in place. As for the clutch drum, as for the clutch assembly, we want to take the bolts out. After the bolts are out, left with the pressure plate, the springs, this is where things get different. Now you can just whip the whole clutch assembly out. Mind the ring. This is where stuff gets interesting. Everything is pushed together. But when the clutch is engaged, you'll see it can come out about this far, but it can lock in there. You see there's plenty of room, and that's the room we have to play with. For the better view, this is the clutch. When we pull the lever, this pulls out, and as you can see, you can have trouble to come back in again. This is the clicking noise you hear. That's well known on the Betas 125 and 200, but also this way it will stay disengaged until it doesn't. As you can see, I've placed the pressure plate with 2 bolts, and this is how far it can come out. As you can see, it can still lock behind each other for about half a millimeter to a millimeter. That's how much it's too much. Just for the experiment, we're going to place 2 times 2 extra washers, adding at 3 millimeters to see what that will do. I'll place them under the pressure plate. As you can see, I added 3 millimeters. As you can see now, the space has grown with roughly the 3 millimeters. That teaches us, if we add another 3 millimeters, we get 3 millimeters extra of free play. So when we take about 1 millimeter off, we'll get 1 millimeter less free play. That way the clutch should always engage. I've machined the pressure plate down for 1 millimeter, and we'll see if it works. As you can see, now the clutch won't come out as far, so it won't hook up with the drum. Well, now we're going to install everything. and we'll see if it works. Since we have taken 1 millimeter off our clutch, it's needed to add another millimeter of washes under the pressure plate. Well, that was it. Everything's back together. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them down below in the comment section.